Hey guys, good morning. So that's the theme of this video. Good morning, getting out of bed. Today I'm redoing some beds in our house. Our kids' room, our spare room, well, it all started when we thought, hey, it's time to get rid of these kids' beds and let's make them sleep on the floor. No, let's get them an updated bed that has a lot of storage underneath. As they're getting older, they're accumulating more things. So we found these on Amazon. These looked really promising, so we ordered one and it was great. However, we wished that it had a bit more storage underneath. Having that 10 or so inches was great, but we wanted a bit more. And so I came up with this. There it is. I built this on the table saw and some glue and brads. It wasn't much of a project. It took me maybe an hour or two, and I installed it. Didn't even film it. And I thought maybe we do this in our daughter's room and our guest room. So this is the process of me going through, measuring the original version and digitally fabricating two different ones. I think they improved along the way. Painting them, poor kid, I didn't even paint his yet. But yes, this is gonna be pretty cool where you can take an Amazon find that's very handy, do a few little things to it and make it even better. Let's dive in and let me show you a little mock-up of what I'm doing, just to kind of give you an idea, and then we'll get building. Okay, this here is just a crude mock-up of the actual bed itself. And you can see when you lift it up, you have storage underneath. Now it's great. When you put items in there, everything goes back and you're good to go. However, we have a few items in our home that require a bit more. And that's kind of what was happening. So I decided to do this. This is kind of a frame that then I built that I put underneath these beds, and they do slide into place pretty well. That way when you do have the extra storage now to go underneath, you're good to go. And that is essentially what we're going to be doing. This part here. This is a great product, but here's how we improve it. Let's go. So my first idea was to make a whole bunch of these little tabs, and those were going to fit inside little slots that I was going to cut along the base of the frame. You can see here the start of this construction. Now I don't have a CNC that's 8 feet long, so it's nice to kind of puzzle piece yourself together. Here's kind of the process. So after putting version 2.1 together, I have a 2.2 coming. You'll see that more. But I want to raise this up to paint it. And that's when putting it on sawhorses became something I wanted to do. And you guys have seen this video already if you're subscribed to the channel, where I made these Duresta style puzzle piece sawhorses and made a video on them out of plywood that lasts 15 years outside. If you haven't seen that, I'll link that down below. And the file has done well. And also a lot of comments saying, I want to buy this as a physical product. When is that coming? Well, Jimmy gave me permission for that as well. And we are going to be offering that first of the year. So stay tuned and check out the website. A couple things I like to do when I'm painting is at Lowe's they have this little cap here that goes over the gallon can and allows just a small spigot for you to pour paint out of, making not much of a mess at all. And then these little foam pads that just soak up a bunch of paint, and they really help you paint into flat surfaces, kind of in the corners too. They're really handy, and they're about $1 a piece. Yes, I know it's a disposable thing. However, I mean, most painting projects have a bunch of disposable stuff, right? I mean, yeah, you could reuse some stuff, but who has ever painted a room and then kind of left everything dirty and said, I'll just buy this stuff next time? Am I the only one that does that? Let me know down below. Of course, we don't need a bunch of finesse painting here. I'm going to leave the inside the way it is because no one's really going to see it except us. And now moving on to version 2.2. This is the final version I came up with. And of course, if you recognize this little shape here, I use this corbel shape in quite a bit of almost everything I do. And here we go. Well, I didn't make the file exactly perfect. I got a little bit more of an onion skin to tear off here, but a quick work of a 3/16 inch router bit, pretty easy to do, making everything nice and easy to the touch. Plus, it does help with assembly to go ahead and trim up all these sharp edges as well, giving every place that needs to go into each other a little bit of a rounded edge. Makes it a bit easier. You'll see what I'm talking about. But one of the key differences in this version is that these little tabs are not individualized. They're made up into strips now, which are the support pieces that the actual bed frame is going to rest on. Making these long pieces that can go into these same slots is going to be so much easier to install and a bit easier to paint as well. But before we paint, I want to let you know something. I'm going to take this time, if you don't mind, to tell you a quick personal story. In 2021, I left corporate America. You may have heard this before, and if you have, listen to it again. And if you haven't, well, here goes. I left corporate America in 2021. I was a retail manager for public supermarkets for 23 years. And the channel was doing 1.5 million views a month on average. So it was giving us roughly around a 6-figure income. I thought I could go do this full time. And 2 months after that, the channel, well, the views dropped about 80%. So imagine losing 80% of your salary, and how are you gonna react, right? So here I am, I'm done with that big career and I'm trying this new thing. What do? Well, I had a dream that I had just gotten 100,000 subscriber, the play button at the time. I had a dream that 100,000 people probably have 2 drills, and maybe 200,000 drills need a home. Came up with this. This was the first product I ever made on these digital machines. And I put a product on the website overnight, and then I woke up the next morning to about $4,000 worth of sales. That week lended me about $8,000. And I thought, okay, maybe there's something to this. And since then, aglimpseinside.org, which is today's video sponsor, that's me, is now what we do for a living. The YouTube views are okay, but the website is more than I could have ever dreamed. And over 16,000 orders we've done so far, and you guys are the reason why. And so we now have over 40 SKUs of organizational products to help you stay organized, keep yourself that way. And honestly, I'm not the most organized, but I know how to be that way. That makes sense? Anyway, guys, I hope you check it out. We have a myriad of products, and our most popular these days, there's 2. There's the upside down orbital sander mount, which allows you precision sanding with both hands, leading that sander upside down, mounted to a surface. And then the French cleats, the ones I cut manually on the table saw each and every week. Those are our 2 most popular items. So I'm gonna put links down below for everything that we do. And I appreciate you guys checking it out. And I depend on these machines. So don't go thinking that these machines are evil just yet, okay? These evil machines feed those kids. Check it out. Okay, back to the bed frame here. We're gonna try doing something we did not do before. I'm going to paint this pre-assembly. I think using the same pad, having everything here in the shop, not outside. It was drizzling actually at this point, so maybe it was the universe telling me to paint it inside before assembly. And that's what I did. And it did turn out to be a much easier process than before. Really glad I did it this way. Now there is one concern about painting everything ahead of time before assembly, and that's during assembly it's possible that you're going to just kind of make some mistakes and scuff up some of this paint. But I think honestly doing a little touch-up is a bit easier than putting it all together and painting it in one fell swoop. And if you know what one fell swoop means, the entire definition, congratulations. Some people don't. Okay, let the assembly commence. We're going to put the puzzle pieces together and reinforce them with a backer board, as you see me stapling in there. And I'm using a paper towel to kind of hammer everything in so I don't scuff it up too much. But now we're going to move on to these corbels, or these side support brackets. And I'm really just assembling everything right now with glue and brads. I'm going to come back and reinforce with some black trim screws. You'll see one of the corners here in a second. And this process was actually pretty fun. It's a big piece, man. And honestly, when I digitally fabbed this from an existing version that I made, I was a bit worried that I wasn't going to quite do it correctly and the bed wasn't going to fit. But you're watching this video and that means it did fit. So yeah, congratulations to me. And there you go. There's a bunch of those scuff marks I was talking about. So a little sanding, and we're going to go ahead and use the same pad, touch this bad boy up. Worked out really well. And continuing on, we're going to go ahead and slide these pieces in. Now, honestly, they don't really need glue. There's such a tight compression fit here that I'm comfortable without even putting any glue in there. You can see here I'm having to hammer them in place. And that's what I did. Now you notice there's a notch over there. That notch is for a part of the bed that hangs down. You'll see that in a second when I do some installation. But now it's time to bring this thing in the house and let's get moving. Now I work alone most of the time, but tonight, well, I had a helper. I want to thank my wife for giving me a hand lifting this thing up. Actually, I think I lifted it and she held it in place. And then as I lowered it back down, of course, I'm like struggling to push this thing and push, you'll see. And boom. And then she asks.
Yeah, it just worked.
It just worked. Hot dog. Well, that was enthusiastic. And those are those notches I was talking about where the bed frame actually comes back down. And you can kind of see the interior workings of all this. And this is what it looks like from the outside. Again, this is not a very expensive project. This was a relatively inexpensive bed frame on Amazon. But the cool part are those hydraulics you're seeing there. It lifts up with really not much force at all. It's a really good counterbalance. And there's so much storage now. And this was one of those projects that I'm so glad we did. We did it in all 3 different rooms, our guest room and our 2 kids' rooms, but there is one more step. There are some feet that need support, and since we raised it up, we have to make little risers to basically support the feet, as you see there. So here's the process of starting to load this thing up. You can see there's plenty of room, plenty of height. Our kids' rooms are pretty full now, but this is one of those projects that really adds value to an already existing one, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. Well, if you made it to the end, thanks for being a part of what we do here. I can't tell you how much your viewership means to me. If you think I've earned it, subscribe to the channel. And again, this week's video sponsor, me. Check us out down below. I really do think that it's been a pretty awesome calling to serve you guys in this community, and I'm happy to do it. And it's been the most fun ride, the most challenging ride, and yet the scariest ride I've ever done. And because of you, you know who you are, you're making it possible. Thank you so much. I'll see you on the next one.